O most Holy Mother, whom I love tenderly as my own, in your sacred presence I offer you these days of preparation for consecration in honor of the stars that adorned your heavenly mantle. I appeal to you to intercede these 46 days for all of my needs, for those of my loved ones, and for any special intentions. Please show me the sweet compassion that you showered upon St. Juan Diego, your messenger. Please give me a pure and virtuous heart like your own, so that I might derive the same consolation, the soothing of my pains, and the lifting of my soul that Juan Diego received from the gentle words you gave to him centuries ago. Listen, put it into your heart, my dearest one, that the things that disturb you, the things that afflict you, is nothing. Do not let your countenance, your heart be disturbed. Do not fear any sickness, nor anything that is sharp or hurtful. Am I not here, I who am your mother? Are you not under my shadow and protection? Am I not the source of your joy? Are you not in the hollow of my mantle, in the crossing of my arms? Do you need anything more? So we're going to do a reflection on our 10th star, which is acceptance. The human being, without having tried or wished for it, finds herself on earth. She did not choose her parents. She did not choose her hometown or her looks. Those realities that she never wanted or never chose can become anathema. In frustration, she releases emotional aggressions in order to attack and destroy them in her mind. A person can come to live in a perpetual battle against all that displeases her. Ashamed and saddened, she rejects herself and her circumstances, her weight, her nose, her temperament, her commute, her moodiness, her acquaintances, her political enemies, her relatives, mosquitoes, and withering heat. She resists everything that she dislikes but cannot change, and she labels it her adversary. As a result, she becomes depressed, anxious, and suspicious. If I abhor my reflection in the mirror, it is my enemy. If I reject the shrill voice of my neighbor, it is my enemy. My adversaries therefore live within me to the extent that I give them life through my resistance. Yet within me are also friends. The first stage of inner freedom involves befriending myself. If I accept my aging eyes or my awkward gait, they become my friends. The problem is not with my slowness in math or my inability to deliver a good punchline, but in my rejection of my deficits and failures. No matter how unlikable another may be, if I embrace him, he is my friend. In acceptance, this ill-timed storm becomes brother storm. This influenza virus becomes sister flu. And if I accept my life's end, I have befriended death. Thus, no matter who I am or the circumstances of my existence, I can choose to live in the crossfire of a battle zone of my own making, or within the boundaries of a peaceful, temperate forest. The power lies within me to embrace or reject those things I cannot change. Thus the alchemy to turn evil into good rests in the palm of my hands. This particular virtue is extremely, crucial in each person's life. There comes a period, I think, in everyone's life where they have hid from themselves, whether it has to do with their talents, or whether it has to do with their looks, or whether it has to do with their popularity. And, we're always afraid that people are going to find us out. So, especially if you're working with like 7th graders, okay, it really comes out in girls at that time period. And we're very, very conscious of ourselves. We want to fit in because we're sure that we really don't, but we don't want anyone to know that. And this is a crisis that many people go through, but sometimes we take on a label from that childhood time that we take all the way to the grave. I know that our working with the elderly, it's amazing to hear how many still label themselves by what was said to them in their grade school years or in their high school years. And this is still how they see themselves. So this is something that we each had to be able to divest before God and before ourselves, and to really truly accept. And I know that for myself, I definitely had to go through this. And I remember that if there was pictures being taken, I really tried to hide. I just figured I'd ruin the pictures. I didn't like my looks. I didn't like my social skills. I didn't like my dullness, okay? You can tell me a joke still to this day, and, I forget the punchline so I can enjoy the joke every time you tell me, okay? And, and I would run away from this. I didn't want to face this, and so I put up all kinds of facades, okay, so that I could look the right way, I could act the right way, but inside I felt completely inept and I didn't want to be discovered. And actually it was through reading a book on humility that every corner that I hid in, this book sort of found me, and I was guilty of everything that it would say. And eventually it brought me to being able to accept the person that I was. Realizing that when we talk about people having a poor vision of themselves, a lot of times it's actually because they cannot accept the fact that they're not God. Instead of feeling sorry for ourselves, okay, because I don't have this talent, or I don't have this ability, or I don't have these friends, or I don't have this power, or I don't have the memory. Accepting our limitations and remembering that only God is perfect, and accepting ourselves with our imperfections is one of the greatest freedoms. Then I don't have to worry. I can love who I am and know that God can still work with me. I think it's a marvel, okay, that God can work with me with my lack of memory, and truly, I mean, just so many different things that I'm clueless, okay? So many things can just pass me by. And yet God has made me be able to survive all these years, and has allowed me to even have the joy of impacting other people's lives as a teacher or a retreat person, or just as a sister. And, and if in all those areas I failed, I can still pray. I can still love, I can still smile, I can still give birth to a person just because God made us. And we have to be able to accept how He wants to use us. Yesterday I mentioned about a man named Armando who was put into prison in Cuba. And, he was a poet. He worked in the post office as a living to have some kind of income, but he loved writing. And this was his passion. And when he got imprisoned because he wouldn't stand by the communist standards or mottos, okay, they totally took away respect for human liberty and religious freedom. He never lost, okay, this acceptance, okay, that he was a child of God, that he could love. He didn't let hate come in there, okay? He accepted the fate that was his by a choice. And even at one point when he was confined for 8 years in a room that was 4 by 10, and in total darkness, he was left naked, and the only thing that was there was a bowl in the end of the little place where he was as a toilet, and food might be sent in, but there was nothing for 8 years. And during that time, he did not let himself, begin to just wither away. He kept his vision, of goodness and of God, and accepted himself as bearing part of the cross, as did Christ. I think about the fact that sometimes we have problems in our marriage or relationship with others. And many times it's because we don't accept the other person having limitations. First, we have to accept our own limitations, but we also have to accept others. This Armando, he was able to still reach out to others in love and respect them. That maybe they're mistaught and been misinstructed and bought into all this, but he doesn't have to have a hatred for them. He could accept them, as taking on their role, as having to be prison guards. When we had a Walter Chizek, and he was in the Syria, in Russia, in the work camp there. And he said the criminals, who were there because of, for crimes of theft and murder were horrible. I mean, if you ever went against them or ever gave them a glare, they would just come into barracks, and even the prison guards wouldn't even protect you. And they would just kill you on the spot and leave, and thought nothing of it. And yet he learned to even accept them, not accepting their behavior as acceptable, but accepting them as human beings who were hurt, who had dreams one time. And, and he didn't fight this if only, and not accepting them unless they fit this particular standard. And this is the beauty, of the virtue acceptance. It has to start first, accepting ourselves, accepting the situations that we're put into, and accepting others with their faults. If we wish others to accept us, and we wish God to accept us, and he does, it doesn't mean he necessarily approves. Those things that we can work on, we have to. And again, if we work and we never see any progress, God doesn't ask necessarily for a success, but only for that striving. And then we abandon ourselves into the hands of God as his dependent children.